Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today for this amazing event, the IE EdTech B, Ripon, and also Accelerator Center. Now, we have an amazing couple of hours for you. We hope you enjoy it. And also, there's going to be a competition, as you well know. There's going to be a winner, although they're all winners. And we have an exciting 2 hours where you're going to get to know an amazing jury, a lot of them alumni at IE. You're going to get to know amazing startups. We're going to have a keynote. What more do you want? And as a professor, I did my homework. And we're going to give you a little bit of homework to pay attention. I always say coal under pressure becomes diamonds. So we have an ambitious schedule, but a very exciting one. Let me go over it quickly. So we're going to have, just quickly, we're going to have an opening just now. We're going to have an introduction to our amazing jury. You know, we have the honor to have them here. Then my wonderful co-host, Anna, is going to introduce the startups. We're going to listen to them. There's going to be one winner for the big prize, but they're all winners. They've worked hard to get to this stage. Then we're going to have our keynote from Daniel Yardi, and then we're going to declare the winner. So stay with us. Now, this is an amazing event. It's amazing we can also do this online. And as we know, the EdTech space is very close to us at IE. We invest in those startups. And thanks to COVID, that's a hard thing to say, very difficult circumstance. We hope all of you and your families are well and they'll stay that way. It's been even accelerating the process of innovation in the EdTech space. We've seen that very much at IE. So what we create here with our partners is an ecosystem for students and founders to create value and make real change happen. And the jurors are with us today working in that space. They've been at the same place our startup members have been. So it's going to be an amazing journey today. We're going to see the fruits of months of very hard work. Now, myself, I'm an IE professor. I'm Bhavin Singh Power. I'm also an entrepreneur. So I'm also going to be taking notes because I might invest in some of these startups. You can't lose out on a good thing, okay? So stay with us. Thank you to our partners for being there. It's going to be a fantastic ride, an amazing learning ride to share, learn, create value, and we have a winning team as well. Now, what I'd like to do now, I'd like to start. So we're going to have our jury members coming to introduce themselves, and also we're going to ask them a question. Now, we have to be very mindful of doing this, as we call, in a liquid way. Ariane and myself are here potentially, and we have people online, and that's something that works. We all miss traveling, but we don't need to travel to have the best talent in the world in one room as we have today. So let's get into it. Are you ready? Are you good? Let's do it. So let's get on to our jury members. So I'd like to first of all introduce, this jury. There's amazing professionals who are working in the innovation EdTech space and ecosystems. They've done so well. They're actually employing and helping other startups to flourish. They're definitely an inspiration. They've been where our founders have been, so they can guide us on this journey, and they have a lot of criteria about this space that's so close to us. What is more important than education and health? So the first person I'd like to bring up as a jury member is Marco Marinucci, and he's the co-founder and CEO of MindBridge. I'd like to ask Marco just to have a quick introduction of who he is in his words, and then I have a question for him. So, Marco, we know that you've done very well in your investments. We can talk about that. I've got some projects for you to invest in. And the question is, how can we become unicorn investors? So please, quick introduction, and how can we become unicorns? Please, Marco, just unmute. Don't worry, that happens a lot.
How about now?
Good.
Feel better? Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, just starting
Go
from
ahead. Yeah.
technical difficulties. Also, see my face is kind of stretched, so I'm really in a wow kind of room. So sorry for that. I became pretty lean during the pandemic, I have to say, at least on the screen. So Say good morning, everybody. At least good morning, Silicon Valley, where I'm based. Good afternoon or good evening, whatever you're connected from. Yeah, I've been in the startup ecosystem my whole life. So the last 25 years, at least, of my life, and was also an IE alumni that can help, with the connection of the participants and the school as well. I've been running an innovation advisory firm that's called MinderBridge that really fits and sits at the intersection between corporates and startups around the world. So we've been filtering and scouting thousands of startups to fit our corporate clients' need for investment, acquisition, or integration. But also have the pleasure of working on the investment side. I started at a seed fund on the side. It's called Mind the Seed, and the entity, the companies that I run is called Mind the Bridge. You are kind of a very early stage actors, and the fund has been active for now 8 years. And yes, last week was a pretty interesting week because we got our first unicorn, and so timely investments. And this is a company called SysDig. It's been in the works here in Silicon Valley for 8 years. International founders as well. That's one of our focus when we invest. Try to create a bridge. The company is also co-invested since the beginning by VCs, top VCs as Accel or Bain Capital. They're pretty well-known names. They work in cloud computing and security, and so. Again, becoming a unicorn, even from Silicon Valley perspective, when that tend to happen a little faster, is still a marathon. And this company has been pushing very hard, and now 8 years and counting. But we are seeing this is happening in more and more regions around the world. And so this is definitely a possibility for everybody here.
Thank you, Marco. That's fantastic. Really inspiring story. And congratulations on your unicorn. So we have our next jury member. We have Udit Bhatnagar. He's a VP of McGraw Capital, and actually he's been my student. So hopefully I could also help him on his journey. So Udit, could you please introduce yourself briefly? And also, can you share your journey a little bit as an investor? And, about EdTech startups. What is a key thing you'd like to share about investing in EdTech? Please, Udit, the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you so much, Balan. It's so great to see you, and I'm really glad that I'm sharing this panel with all the other jury members here. So my journey as an investor, it started about 6 years ago, and I initially started as an angel investor, making small check investments in various different sectors. Quickly, I found myself heading a due diligence practice of a angel syndication group back in India. And one of the first investments that I made is in a EdTech startup. They are called Tinkerly, based out of India, focusing both on online and offline STEM education. And like North America, India is a fantastic market for EdTech startups to flourish. Fast forward, now I'm a vice president at McRock. We are a dedicated industrial IoT tech fund. And when you first hear that thesis, EdTech it does not come on top of your mind. But there are three pillars where our deal flow is crossing paths with education technology startups. And I'll quickly point them out. Number one is the bucket of startups which are focusing on research and development. Last year, I invested in a Canadian robotics company called ClearPath Robotics. They partner with top global universities, providing a robotics platform for students and researchers to collaborate and develop robots for the next generation. Second bucket, and with the ongoing pandemic, which is becoming more and more important for us at McRock, is startups that help you manage global campuses. and ensure that your students, your staff can return to work safely. And one of my existing portfolio company, again, Invixium, offers a solution which helps you comply with guidelines set by your respective governments and ensure your students are complying by the guidelines set by the campus authorities. And the final bucket is obviously around creating smart infrastructure. We are sitting in the wow room now. So technologies like these are certainly on my radar as an investor in McRock Capital. So yeah, these three buckets keep us excited, and I've been fortunate enough to cross paths with some of the great professors like Balwinder, who've been helping me while I evaluate startups now as an investor. So yeah, very excited to be here again.
Thank you, Udit, for your words. And it's amazing how in education we can talk about so many different technologies like AI, but as a soft skills professor, remember there's some things that humans can do that machines cannot. We have to find that connection and that balance. So now let's have our next jury member. We have Tayo Akinyemi. She works in the space of African tech. And Tayo, really, again, a pleasure to have you here. We'd like you to have a brief, make a brief introduction of yourself. And the question you have, how do you view education post-COVID? And do you think the way we learn and teach will change forever due to the pandemic? So Tayo, all yours.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, particularly as a relatively new member of the IE community. I joined relatively recently as an IE Gurus and Griots Fellow. And so I, along with the other 5 fellows, will be working to sort of help bring the perspective on innovation in Africa to bear. So I'm very excited about that. My background actually historically has been in ecosystem building. So if you think about hubs and accelerators, I ran the first Pan-African network of hubs called AfriLabs, spent a little bit of time at the World Bank working on a Pan-African digital accelerator, and now actually have pivoted more into research and strategy, still along the same lines. So for example, I co-published a report on early stage investing in Africa called Chasing Outliers. And I'm working on a future of work focused project with a think tank and a foundation that actually dovetails quite nicely with the idea of what education in the future will look like, particularly in the advent of the 4th industrial revolution. So in terms of how COVID will change education, so I think there will be short tail or short to medium term effects and long-term effects. Thinking about Africa specifically, it's quite interesting. COVID has really accelerated the digitization of all sorts of activity, especially education. I think some of that will stay in the sense that I think educators, policymakers, and the like are thinking very hard about what you really do need to do in person and what is better suited to do virtually or by some other means. But to quote you directly, I do think it's going to require a balance. Education is psychosocial in as much as it is technical. And so you're always going to need the human connection, I think, to learn properly.
Tayo, thank you again. Another inspiration. And the good thing, when we're passionate about what we do, we don't mind being busy because there's no difference between our life and our working life. So Tayo, another very busy person, passionate, but creating a lot of value and opportunities, not for just for yourself, but for others. Now we have another member of the jury. We have Apurva Shah, who's actually Senior Director at EAB, our principal partner. And I'd like you again, please, a little introduction about yourself. And then the question is, how can we make education smarter? That is your brief as a company. We'd like to know a little bit about that. So Apurva, please, when you're ready, the floor is yours.
Sure. Hi, thank you everyone for including me today. My name is Apurva Shah. I'm, like you said, I'm a principal at EAB. So if you don't know anything about EAB, we're one of the largest education consulting and technology companies in the US. We serve over 2,400 colleges and universities, and increasingly the K through 12 kind of post-secondary secondary education space as well. My role here is on our strategy and new ventures team, and so we're really focused about thinking about new ways to serve our customers, our partners, in the solutions that they need. And so I've been here for 10 years and launched several different businesses during that time, really focusing, tapping into our network. We work very deeply with the senior most leaders at these colleges and universities. So the presidents, the provosts, the vice presidents of enrollment and student success, and so on. And our real insight came from initially serving them through best practice research. So we're very much like a Gartner type model or a CEB type model for education, focusing there first. It was through those best practices that we got to specific technology and consulting service type products. So one of the most recent products that I've launched is called Edify. My colleague Danielle Yardy, who's the keynote speaker, works very closely with me on that product. It's called an education data platform. It's the first of its kind in the market, where we really bring together the best of kind of cloud data warehousing with analytics and reporting in the whole data sphere into one single technology and consulting solution. And so we've launched that from when it was just an idea on a whiteboard to now actually in market, selling directly to our partners and growing the business very fast with over 100 clients now that are working with us on this technology and this platform. So it's been amazing to see that happen. And you ask kind of how do we make education smarter? Well, it starts with that insight, right? I think where we focus is not let's just go find the hot topic, whether it's AI or ML or whatever. Rather, let's focus on what are the core problems, what are the business challenges that an institution is facing. Here in the US, we face a lot of enrollment challenges due to kind of changing demographics. We face a growth in the number of different technology systems that are out there. And so we really realized that there was this need for these different business problems that needed to be solved with a focus on strategy, with a focus on the kind of the end in mind. And so when you do that, you get towards the right solution. So I think that's number one. And then number two, I think it's always a focus with the student at the end. And so I think that student-centric approach, it's easy to get caught up in the solution itself. But I think when you think about who the actual student is, what their situation is or has been, and how is that going to change? And so another big focus in our work is equity. And so a lot of our technology that we're using is really intended to shine a light on what are the different inequities in our society, socioeconomic, racial, and so on, and how can we reveal those and then actually help our partners, our clients resolve those through the deliberate use of data and then the kind of the best practices that we can provide them to actually help them change. So that's, I think, how we can make education smarter is using the resources, the assets, the innovations we have towards the kind of the ultimate good, which is what we're all here for. So thank you again for including me. I'm excited to hear from the startups.
Apurva, thank you again. Also very inspiring, and thank you for your partnership. And it reminds you of my favorite quote from Gandhi: be the change you want to see. And you're definitely doing that. You have your brief, you're making it happen, and you're walking the talk. So we have another jury member. We have Leanne Armstrong. She's a director at Accelerator Center, another of our partners, very grateful for their support. And I'd like her to, again, make a brief introduction. And the question for her is, how can we scale EdTech startups, as you're all about acceleration? So, Leanne, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Leanne Armstrong. I'm the Director of Programs and Client Experience here at the Accelerator Center. The Accelerator Center is currently Canada's #1 private business accelerator. We've supported over 600 startups throughout all of our programming. Amongst our alumni, we have over $2 billion in corporate value and investment raised. So we have some really great companies who have gone through our programming, some of which include Applyboard, ClearPath Robotics, MyoVision, and Exonify. Specifically at the Accelerator Center, we're looking to help companies scale and accelerate quickly. So we run high-intensive, high-touch, 1 to 2 year programming where we help companies start an incubation at the ideation point and help them get all the way through to the point of scale. So really excited to be here and hear from all the startups. In terms of what the Accelerator Center is doing to help companies scale, specifically EdTech companies in a COVID time, is we're trying to help companies pivot and pivot quickly. We want them to be first to market and first to be disruptive in their industries. So we're helping them through quick pivots and providing as much facilitation and introductions to investment and capital for them as possible is really important to us. So we have a seed funding program and we're able to make some introductions to investors where we're able to. And then some of the biggest other things that we're trying to do at the AC is create jobs through these startups. So helping them to pivot quickly, scale quickly, and then create a number of jobs has been really important for us. Thank you.
Leanne. Very impressive. Congratulations on that. You create a very powerful ecosystem, and really you're making things happen. You're creating a lot of value, creating, you know, as you said, scaling up. So we're also an ecosystem. So we're very happy to join your ecosystem. And as I always say as well, as Disney said, if you believe something, you can make it happen if you're with the right people. So we're definitely with the right people. So we have Dave Savary. He's also a co-founder of Ripin, who's another partner of this event. Please, Dave, we'd like you to have a brief introduction of who you are so people know, you know, your focus and your role and your expertise. And then we have a question for you. Now, you were also a student when you co-founded Ripin, and now it's a company with 130 team members. What could be the biggest lesson you'd like to share with the founders who are here today? All yours.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me today. My name is Dave Savory. I'm one of the co-founders of Ripin, and I lead our experiential learning team. So as most of the people on the call know, as a co-founder, you do a little bit of everything. But as we've grown our operations, we have started to specialize. So I do a lot of partnerships, investor relations, and business development outreach with academic partners. Ripin, for those who don't know, we're a work integrated learning platform that really focuses on partnering with academic institutions who want to embed project-based work integrated learning opportunities into their core curriculum and more recently into co-curricular activities. So we do that. We've built the world's largest marketplace that brings together educators and faculty. We have over 300 institutions, about 5,000 professors who are looking to embed real-world company projects into their course. And then on the other side of the marketplace, we've been building an industry community of startups, nonprofits, large enterprises. It's completely free for businesses. We have over 10,000 partners who are posting projects to the ecosystem and are actively looking to connect with an academic program. So we're about 8 years old. We did start as a student entrepreneurship program at the University of Victoria in British Columbia. We've been through probably 12 or 13 accelerators in Toronto, New York, Boston, Vancouver. So maybe one day we'll write a book on the different benefits of incubators, accelerators, and how to get the most out of them. I think to answer the question from an insight perspective, I would say really don't fall too much in love with the first version of your solution or your product. Stay true to your mission, stay true to the problem you're trying to solve. But over the years, we've been successful at really engaging educators, all of our partners and community members to help us guide how the tools and the technology that we built solves their pain point. So don't fall too in love with the first version and be open to that feedback and incorporate that into how you're going to service your mission.
Thank you, Dave. Wonderful. And as a mentor to startups, we also say the team at the beginning is key. You're going to pivot, you might perish, but basically we're investing in a team because we believe that they can do something exceptional and create value. So they've got to complement each other, they've got to work hard, and they've got to have a vision that they commit to. So thank you again. So now to our founders. So I'd like to hand it over to Oriana, who's going to introduce our startup teams. But I'd like to also ask Oriana, what about that jury? I mean, it couldn't be any better than that, could it?
Amazing. I mean, I'm impressed, and thank you, Paul, for the word. It's a pleasure being part of such an amazing initiative that IE University has put together in order to promote the EdTech ecosystem in North America and to create an effective educational environment for students and all of the stakeholders involved in the education field. In the next 2 hours, we will introduce 5 startups from different countries. They come from Singapore, Estonia, Canada, and the United States. Today, we're going to have them, and all they come from the education field, entrepreneurship, and innovation. From all the startups that apply, only 5 of them have been selected, and they're here to pitch their idea. Before we start, it is important to mention the evaluation criteria that we're going to have here in this competition. The jury is going to take a look at different components, okay? Innovation, scalability, team, also investor readiness, and market opportunity. The winner also will participate at IE stage during the South Summit and will be shortlisted down to the 200 semifinalists that will be at the main event, thereby having a chance to become a semifinalist at the South Summit. In addition, he will receive an acceleration program that it's going to be taught by experts and also an IE mentor. And now it's time to start the competition. So I'm going to start and I'm going to give the word to Akbuta Musa in representation of Bilimber. Akbuta, welcome. And you're free to start your presentation. I will give you 3 minutes to give your pitch, okay? So whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much.
How are you, Akbuta?
All good. Happy to see you, all of them.
Good to
all of
see
you.
you
Thank
too.
you very much for.
So we're gonna have to share the presentation, okay? So whenever you're ready, you have to send us the request so we can approve it. And as soon as we have it here, we're gonna be able to load it and all of us will see it in the screen.
Okay, I guess you can see it right now.
Now we see it. So feel free to pitch, okay? And we will give you 3 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. I'm Agbota and I'm the co-founder of Bilimber. Bilimber, it's an app to prepare students for university entrance test. The current state problem of the students in Central Asia is to have a better accessibility of test preparation materials and good learning. Despite 94% of students taking additional courses, they still went away below average than other countries in global education ranking. We are 62nd out of 79 countries. So why it's happening? What about you guys, how you are preparing for the exams? Standard textbooks, coaches, study centers, and etc. that cannot identify the students' weak points and plus monitor progress at regular intervals. And lastly, the good teachers, they're not available for all the students all the time. That's why we built Bilimber app. It's a unified solution for students preparing for competitive exams. Bilimber is designed to be gamified and measurable. Currently, we have a full-length mock test, more than 20,000 questions and with the answers, plus we have a competition between the students and flashcards, online queries, where students can look for the test or some answers. We are providing a new way of learning. It's a focusing on problem solving, analytics to track performance. As you know, the key success of better education is 80% of education and 20% of entertainment. And lastly, best learning experience with Bilimber friends. The team behind is me, Agbota, and my co-founder Yaracel. Why did we choose this exactly problem? Because me and my co-founder, we both struggled. We faced this problem firsthand, and we didn't have an access to good resources. Yaracel, he's an experienced mobile developer. We've been knowing each other for the last 6 years and doing so many startups. As for me, I was a part of the Singapore accelerators, kind of the Antler and Entrepreneur First. During the COVID time, we got a certain tractions because of this entire pandemic situation. The students, they wanted to know how they're performing in comparison to other students. Currently, we are witnessing 70,000 downloads, and we didn't spend any single dollars on customer acquisition. On a daily basis, we are having 500 to 1,000 downloads. And mostly, we just partnered with the testing center, with the government testing center you study in Kazakhstan. And we have our app on the Play Market, and we just launched our app also on the iOS. Our users, they love our app and they keep referring to each other. Currently, we are #1 on the Play Market and our ratings is 4.8. Our immediate markets, it's $300 to $500 million, but we are looking for the market size as a $3.5 billion with 35 million students. Bilimber, this is the value proposition of the Bilimber. What we're observing that the students, they prepare better and keep motivated while they engage within the community by helping each other, by competing, discussing, but at the same time helping each other. So from our competitors, how we differentiate It's a gamification and friendly user experience with our focus on user engagement and community approach, understanding the students' behavior. This is how we differentiate from the rest of existing platforms. Plus, we have a personalized recommendation for the study, as every student for us is a unique student, and each of them need a unique recommendation. So we are raising 250K to accelerate our growth and plus to scale our product driven by consumer demands. So thank you for your attention and hope you like it.
Akbuta, thank you very much for your presentation. Now it's time for the jury to ask their questions, okay? So I'm gonna take a look at the chat, and also I encourage the jury to turn on their mics to do this question. So whenever you're ready.
I have a quick question, Akbuta, which is how are you monetizing this? So do you charge for the app, or are you how are you thinking about kind of getting sales on this app?
Akbuta, we are going to request you to turn on the microphone because you're in mute.
Yes, sorry.
Happens a lot.
Okay, thank you for your question. So currently our app is like a free, so we are just like giving them all the preparation materials because we are more kind of the user driven, like as for our first revenue, we just partnered with the study center, the testing study center. So we are giving them the platform where they can sell their tests, or they can be the real tutors, you know, like the tutors, the marketplace for the tutors. And also we're going to have an in-app purchases so they can buy the tests and other books, materials, and so on.
Thank you very much, Akbuta. And thank you to the jury. Do we have another question for Akbuta?
A quick question here, maybe more than a question, is a suggestion. Akbuta, I was checking. Congratulations on the focus of your company or the app. I was checking though on your presence online of the company. I couldn't find you on Crunchbase, on LinkedIn. So kind of in the main areas where angel investors would check for any signs of coming from the market. So I mean, my suggestion is try to make yourself more visible.
Thank you, Marco. We have also one hand raised by Tayo Akineyemi. So can you turn on your mic and please say it out loud?
Sorry, can I answer on the question of Marco? Like, I mean, that why you don't have a visibility? Because we've been working on this idea for the last 6 months. And I mean, I didn't forget, but we've been just a more user and product based. So we didn't pay attention on the raising, on the money or something, because we know that what we are building and more spending time with our users, talking to them and understanding how we can help them. So we just started actually showing our visibility. Just yesterday, I did my LinkedIn page for our Billion Bear app. So yes, we'll do that stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco, and thank you, Akbuta. We move on into the following question from Tayo. So Tayo, feel free to ask your question whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Hi, Akbuta. Really nice presentation. It sounds like you're starting in Kazakhstan with ambition to expand across Central Asia. My question is, do you have visibility into for how long the testing regimes will last, in the sense that, from what I understand, there was a test, the sort of national test in Kazakhstan was instituted in 2004 and then changed in 2017. So one would assume that it will stay for a while so that you don't have to change your content. But in other countries that you might also expand into, do you have a sense for how long the testing regime will last?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. So as for that one, as for now, this current of the in governmental, the test is going to be for the next 10 years. And why we chose the Central Asia countries, because we have the same education system. It just may be the difference only in language. I mean, that if we're doing for Uzbekistan, it's going to be in Uzbek language. But all of these Central Asia countries, they speak in Russian. So right now we have in 2 languages. So it's in Russian and Kazakhstan. And we have actually the users from the Uzbekistan, from Russia. So we didn't do actually any marketing, and we don't know, I mean, that it's more kind of the word of mouth, like how we're getting our visibility. But for current, like we're gonna start like doing the marketing and see this, like how can expand quickly as possible.
Thank you very much to the jury and Akbota. And we are going to move on to the next speech that is going to be given by Eugene Ursalov from Kacers. Hi, Eugene. How are you?
Yeah, hello, everyone. I am so excited to share our idea with you.
We're glad to hear that. The floor is all yours, and you will have 3 minutes. Please make sure to stick to those 3 minutes, because otherwise, I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of the presentation, because we have to stick to the time, okay? So feel free to start your pitch whenever you're ready, and once we see the presentation, which I'm seeing it right now, so whenever you're ready, okay?
Yeah, sure, I'm ready, but you're in charge here, so please stop me if I will use these 3 minutes. But I'm ready to start, so... Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Eugene Ursalov, I am founder of Kacers, and you know, we really love case study, and case study is one of the most popular and the most powerful teaching method for higher education. But from the technical point of view, case study is just a PDF document, so it's really boring for modern generation. And there are a lot of players on this market. Perhaps you know someone. And all case study writers, all publishers want to create a modern content. They really want to produce more multimedia cases and more interactive. And some of them already have interactive collection. But there is a problem, because right now publisher can sell cases only for other faculties. So that means it's quite limited market. And case writing, it's not cost efficient, but we have a solution. Our proposal is to open a huge lifelong learners market for publisher. And how are we going to make it? Let me introduce Kacers. So Kacers, it's an interactive case study platform. Case writer will be able to upgrade their PDF document and create an amazing story. So students from the phone or from the computer will be able to join this simulation with all of type of multimedia like photo, video, chatbot simulation, and so on and so on. And the most interesting part, it's about virtual class discussion. So we found a way how to keep the best learning experience from the class discussion and deliver it online for all lifelong learners. So just imagine, guys, right now, all of you will be able to join a class discussion simulation in any of high rank business school. Sounds great? I think yes. So our business model, it's simple and straightforward. It's a revenue sharing with publishers. And right now we already have 2 pilots with Rotterdam School of Management, Erasmus University, and one, it's a well-known UK-based publisher under NDA right now. But the most important thing here that we got a proof that lifelong learners are willing to pay for online case study. We conduct few market demand tests on the US market, and we got conversion rate around 70% and customer acquisition cost around $8. So it's really, really great. Our team, for us, it's a pivoting product. We have 6 people in our team, and our previous product was focusing for students' case competition. So we help big corporates like Deloitte, KPMG, L'Oreal, and so on, to organize and manage students' case competition. So we're pretty well known how to work with case studies and how to make them attractive for young audience. And our previous product has up to 15K MRR. So right now we are focusing for traction, and we expect to raise a seed investment around 200K this summer. So guys, if you want to help us to make case study education better, so I'll be super happy to connect with you.
Eugene, thank you so much. I mean, this is an amazing idea to live a case. You know, I remember back in the days when I used to print my case, when we didn't have this, devices, and now you can, live through the case with your application. So I'm gonna open the panel for questions, okay, from the jury. So let's take a look. Can you please mute your microphone while the jury is going to make a question? Please. Okay, excellent. So now let's take a look. Do we have any questions from the jury? Okay, we do have one from Udit. Please, Udit, unmute your microphone.
Hey, Eugene. First of all, love your energy. Very good presentation. You mentioned you are raising 200K. Can you talk a bit about how you are going to use it? Because I see you have a well-developed team over there. How are you planning to use that 200K, and how this investment can help you?
Yeah, Julius, thanks a lot for this detail. To be honest, right now we are bootstrapping, so everything what you saw, it was our design team. So we had a prototype in design, and we built this prototype with some technology. So currently we don't have our own website, but first of all, we want to test everything and build this prototype to test it with lifelong learners. And then in summer, when we will get more traction, we need this investment to build a platform and to make the first our own collection of interactive case studies.
Thank you to Eugene and to our jury member. We're going to move on into the next speech. And thank you very much, Eugene, for participating. We're going to request you again to mute your microphone, okay? Thank you so much. And thank you to the jury member. We're going to pass on to the next speech, which is going to be given by Anthony Chen from Canada, and he's going to present us Dateraction. Anthony, welcome. The floor is all yours, and you will have 3 minutes to pitch your project. Anthony, you have to unmute your microphone, please. Are you able to listen to me? Because we're not able to listen to you, Anthony. He's experiencing some difficulties. Anthony, do you hear us? While Anthony is trying to connect into the session and to unmute his mic, we can move on into another startup, and then we will get back to you, Anthony, okay, if that is fine. We will move into the next one, which is Next Knowledge Pitch by Steven Steiger. Steven, welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do hear you, Stephen.
Wonderful,
So
wonderful.
Again, 3 minutes to pitch your project, okay? And feel free to start whenever you're ready. As soon as we see the presentation loaded on the screen, we're good to go.
Great. I'm just getting my request. I thought I had an extra 2 minutes, but here we go. You can see everything?
Not yet.
Oh.
Let's wait for a couple of seconds so that the presentation is loaded on the screen.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but the thing is that Anthony was having a little bit of trouble, so while he's able to fix that, we wanted to move on with you, Stephen. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's totally fine. I've put through my presentation request.
Time is precious, so we have to take care of time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. Give me 1 second here, please.
It's the same thing we did yesterday, basically. You have to send us a
Sure.
request,
Yes.
and now it's there. Now it's there.
Yes. Perfect. You can see it now?
Got it. So whenever you're
Excellent.
ready to go.
Excellent, excellent. Hi, everybody. I'm Stephen. I'm the CEO of Next Knowledge. We are a Canadian educational company working to change the world's relationship with learning. On this screen, you'll see a few faces. These are my talented and dedicated leadership team. Lawrence is our Chief Learning Officer. He's also my co-founder. Suzanne, who's our Chief Everything Else Officer. Various admin tasks fall to her. And Andrew, who's our Director of Engineering. We also have a UX developer and a communications manager on board. We exist, passionately believe that quality education, and not just access to, but access to the tools that provide academic success, should be available to everyone. We also exist because there isn't anything like this out there in the market today. 30% of learners, at least, in any learning environment will struggle with the act of reading and writing, and they don't need to. We have a method that works, it's proven, and we wanted to get it to learners everywhere. Our method and all of our actions are based around helping learners master comprehension. The method at the core of our technology was created by Lawrence, my business partner, and he's an expert in the learning disability space. He's developed this method, and it has a 30-plus track year of history of dramatically improving the performance of learners. Our delivery agent for this has come out of the classroom, is now digital. It's based on our AI, and we call her Alice. She works with learners to help break the material down at hand, isolate the most relevant items, generate powerful notes, guide a user through the act of writing that helps reinforce and reestablishes that retention of their learning. These are a few screens of what you see when you land in our portal. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the look at this, but what I'd actually rather do is encourage you to go to our website, pick any plan. All of our plans come with a free 7-day trial. It's the best way to kick it around and to see what it actually can do and what it looks like. We're young, but we've had some great early contracts and progress. We signed a contract with a school for delivery in September. We have a steadily growing number of individual memberships that are coming to our site and subscribing to our services. We have a network of specialists that are looking to implement us into their own programs and their practices, be it speech therapists, executive function coaches, anyone where literacy is important. And we were invited to participate in a government project providing literacy tools to grades 4, 5, and 6. As for scale, all of our materials and our structure is cloud-based, allowing us for immediate capacity and processing enhancements. Our current limitation is language. We are English focused right now, French is in development, Spanish and other languages are to follow. As for our team, we envision growing by a couple of additional engineers, plus a few implementation and support specialists based on our contracted revenue. And as our intelligence grows, the intelligence valence, that is, the number of products that we can create is vast. And that brings us to today. We are here because this is new, and we are new, and exposure is awesome. We're open to help in a variety of forms, whether it be through ideas or critiques or questions or comments. We're also open to funding conversations. We're currently self-funded. Thank you for this opportunity and for your time. This is really exciting to be a part of this.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Now it's time for the jury questions. I'm gonna call out Dave Savory because I know that you raised your hand several times. So if you wanna pitch a question to Stephen, feel free to do it, Dave.
Yeah, sure, thank you. So you mentioned that you signed a contract. So is there 2 revenue streams? There's like an annual license contract model and then an individual user model that they can sign up and pay a subscription?
Yes, so we have the solo memberships, which is targeted at like the self-driven learner or the parent of a learner that wants help for they would come to our site, sign up for a subscription, whether it be a monthly or a discounted yearly. The other side of us is all enterprise, where we're selling into institutions on a year-long contract on a cost per student.
Great. And how's which one do you think is showing more promising signs so far?
Out of the gate, it's been the institutions. So we have one school signed, we have 2 other schools at contract level discussion, knocking on my desk. Hopefully those will come through. But the institutional space has been our early adopter. I think what we are offering them is a tool that helps them and their parents of the kids that are in their schools break down the learning more easily. Everybody's a teacher now. Everybody's working in this odd homeschooled environment, and we help provide tools that help that.
Nice. On the institutional model, we sign contracts with departments or institution-wide, colleges, universities, but almost all the successful ones have been kind of a bottom-up approach, so getting professors and users within the institution to be deeply championing it, which then can help you get into those contracts a little bit quicker.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. That is actually how we ended up in the contract that we have now. It's our evangelist who kind of led the charge for us, which is great. So
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Dave. We have also Marco here, but Marco, we're going to leave your question for the following contestant, okay? Because we have up next Mercur, and the speech is going to be given by Laurie Sosars. She's going to give the pitch. Laurie, thanks for being here today, and you will have the same thing as your contestants, okay? You're going to have 3 minutes to pitch your project, so whenever you're ready. We're going to take a look at the screen to see if the presentation is already loaded. Usually it takes a couple of seconds. We are seeing that you're sharing. Now we see it in the screen, and you're good to go.
Okay. Hello, my name is Lauri, and I'm a co-founder of company Mercur. I'm a teacher, engineer, and entrepreneur. I have a strong metal sector background and worked in different metal sector companies. I got STEM teacher qualification in 2018 and focused 100% to education. I work as a technology teacher in different Estonian schools. With my own classroom, I would like to inspire young people by the field of technology and engineering. As a teacher, I face the challenge of teaching technology every day. Schools don't have enough resources to buy modern equipment and tools. Girls are not welcome to technology class. Engineering specialties are not very popular. Estonian companies don't have enough skilled workers. We started generating ideas of mobile workshop in the end of 2016. We got €100,000 from Estonian Ministry of Education for developing and piloting our solution in Estonian school network. We presented the first mobile workshop in April 2017, and our non-stop journey started. Here you can see what we have done. We have developed compact and mobile dream classrooms. We have built mobile workshops, equipped them with real tools and skilled teacher. We go where our youth and make together real things. I'm a teacher with my own classroom. I go to the school, open my classroom, students go in. I give my lesson, close, and next school. Our target group is youngsters from 7 to 18. We operate in the field of formal and non-formal education. We have organized over 900 technology events for 9,000 young people. We have developed 2 mobile workshops and over 80 learning solutions for the secondary schools. We are always 3 hours away from every point in Estonia. The mobile workshops service is a good example of partnerships between schools and enterprises. We work together with sector companies, schools, and local municipalities. We have long-term partners in Estonian school network and hobby education. Private sector companies support us. In this short time, we have been noticed from different sectors. We have very big experiences with traveling with pop-up workshops, and of course, we know where we can be more effective. We wish to develop the concept of future mobile classrooms and methodological study materials for both students and teachers to expand into the Estonian and international educational sphere. Together, we could develop next generation of mobile workshops. They must be smarter and faster. Together, we are better. Ideas without action aren't ideas. You have different options. We invest in youth. Invest you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurie. Now it's time for the jury questions, and I'm gonna give the work to Marco because he wanted to make a question before. So Marco, the floor is for you, okay? Marco.
Yeah, sorry, I was unmuting. I had a question actually for the previous company, so maybe let me rephrase some for the current company. What I'm not quite clear if that's a for-profit business or also considering the prices that you won, the focus is more of a social enterprise. So basically the question is what can we do to help?
The question is it profitable business?
If it's a profit, can you just explain what is your
We are selling workshops.
you know,
We are selling workshops. We are going to schools. Schools don't have technology classes. Teachers, we are selling services to schools. In Estonia, there are a lot of schools. They don't have teacher, don't have classroom, don't have equipment. And the youths are not getting technology lessons at all. And there are not new engineering and technology people are growing up because there are nothing doing with technology. And we are helping the schools to teach technology lessons to the youths. And they are paying money for us. And also we are making non-formal educational stuff in summer camps, summer work camps, and also team building events. Also, we have been in unicorn summer camps and making workshops there.
Thank you, Laurie, and thank you, Marco. We have another question from Leanne Armstrong. Leanne, feel free to mute your mic.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My question is really around scalability. So in your last couple slides there, you showed the robot for the classroom to deliver your STEM classes, but what's the kind of capital needed to develop that robot so you can start scaling outside of a 3-hour radius?
Please, we're not able to listen to you. Can you unmute your microphone when you have a chance? Laurie?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, right. The question was how much money we need to make robot teacher.
Yeah, how much money do you need to get to the point where you can start scaling outside of a 3-hour radius?
I think that the first robot, it will be 50,000 euros.
Okay, thank you very much, Laurie, and thank you, Leanne, for the question. Now we're going to move on into our next pitch, which is going to be by Anthony Chen. We're going to get back to you, Anthony. He's going to show his project, which is called Dateraction. Anthony, are you able to listen to us? Amazing.
Yes, okay, I'm on mute now. Thank you so much, and sorry for the earlier technical difficulty.
Don't worry.
Thank you,
No
Stephen,
problem.
for the subbing, and Stephen deserved the extra point just because of subbing, and then I know that surprise definitely ruined the momentum, and sorry about that. And then, all right, so I'm going to share the deck right now.
Feel free to share the presentation so we can see it on screen. Okay. It takes a couple of seconds, as you may notice, to load, but as soon as we have it there, we're good to go.
Okay, yes, I'm ready. Okay, so everyone see the slide right now?
It's loading. Now we see it, so you're good to go.
Excellent. All right, hi everyone. My name is Anthony, CEO of Dateraction. We have a big goal, democratizing education. The question is how? Like, why people still want to go to school when EDX, Coursera, and many other platforms are out there? It's the people and community people are looking for. I mean, the school's offer. And so we want to deliver a great peer learning and community experience. Let me see. Oh, it's stuck. Okay. Think about this. Educators have been adopting multiple tools to provide a better learning experience. But they don't need the full features from every tools, and it can be very difficult for them to manage all. We've been working with the educators, students, and industry partners to experiment with our solution. And the B2B project has led us to the post-revenue since January 2021. We are also introducing our solutions to dozens of student clubs and education programs to over over 10 universities this summer. We will also host a global case competition and introduce our talent community solution for enterprise Q4 this year. And now, why us? We are experienced community builders, expert in data science and AI applications, and have been working on education innovation project and research with educators and researchers from around the world for over 10 years. So what problem are we tackling? What's missing? Virtual is a new normal, we know that, and it's a huge market, 400 billion market. Many have been focusing on making content accessible for the mass, which is good, amazing, but it's not enough. Whether virtual or in person, we need more discussion, collaboration, mentorship for our education system. Virtual training and recruitment account for 200 billion market, and demand for the team collaboration tools is growing fast. These are opportunities that we are after. So what we are offering, with our community as a service solution, it can save educators the time and cost for managing multiple tools. It enables talent-driven community for whether it's school or corporation, and the streamlined data allows AI to push the human bottleneck and enable educators to deliver better quality learning to more. So these are the amazing tools. I mean, pretty much, I'm sure most of us, if not all, familiar with this. But most educators cannot afford to have a team to manage all for them to deliver the better quality. And that's where we come in. And then our focus, like so, we are expanding our pilots like this summer, and then we'll be moving into the B2B space with our talent community solutions Q4 this year, and that's where we'll start experiencing the jump. We'll be servicing both university and also corporation. This is how we are kind of building a roadmap like this summer. So we are now discussing with over 50 student clubs, over 10 universities to integrate our platform for them to use. And then we are also working with a few universities on delivering our platform with the content of a few bootcamps there. And then also like a Q4, when we introduce our case competition, we'll also announce our talent community solution for enterprise. That's where we'll be make the most of our revenue from. And then we do have a small team and a very agile team, but we also have with a team of advisor. We are ready to accelerate and grow globally and use AI to solve big problems for business and education. Thank you so much.
Anthony, thanks to you. And now we're gonna open the floor for questions from the jury, and I'm gonna call out Tayo because I know you wanted to make a question before, Tayo, so the floor is open for you if you wanna make a question to this startup, okay? So feel free to unmute your mic whenever you're ready.
Thank you. It's a two-part question. I'm not sure I quite understand what the products are under each of the categories. So you've got community education and a couple of other ones. And secondly, I'm curious how you're going to manage curation within community, just because community building is hard both offline and online, and you know, it often comes down to curation and retention. So yeah, those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, so thank you for the question, Tayo. And I think the first question was how we differentiate how the community solution and then education solution was delivered. So I think for the community solution, basically we integrate a few common tools that include like just interactive streaming that's I've been using. And then usually if let's say an organization or a student club or the program is like building their community, they use streaming, they will use Slack, and then the other social media too. So basically, from that angle, you can see we are working with the multiple university to build a social media, or like not necessarily university, but like an education ecosystem to build a social media for learner and educator. So where they can actually do multiple things. Anyway, think about Facebook, they have a streaming, they have Messenger and all this. We pretty much offer similar thing as that, but we tailor to the education system. And then for the community, we are really targeting on offering service to, the building community. We are targeting to offering to school community or education community, and that's where for them to start to use this, and then as they graduate, and then the service, and then it will be from. It's not just like doing their learning, but we also have the portal from the recruiting. So that's where education matters. I mean, we believe people love learning, But why people actually go to school? They always have this mindset to want to have recruited, being recruited. So our community solution connects with the mentorship and alumni network community, and then also enable them for the job market and the career solution. So that's where we continue to grow this community continuously. But otherwise, most school, their community ends the moment they graduate. For example, the Facebook group, will be used and LinkedIn group, and when they graduate, it ends. But we don't end there.
Thank you so much, Anthony and Tayo. And we get to the final point of our pitches. I want to ask something to Bal, because I heard that you wanted to invest in our startups and in the pitches that we just heard. And I wanted to know if now you have a clear idea of which one would you pick.
It's so amazing. What do you think? I'm really considering selling some of my Bitcoin and investing a little bit in all of them. Some of them already have revenue. So it's incredible. I'm amazed.
Me too. And to be honest, I don't know in which one. I don't know which one will I pick because I loved all of them.
I'm sure our audience has the same doubt. What to do with their money, where to invest. Maybe we can spread a little bit in each one, but we know that we're going to have a winner. So Oriana, thanks a lot for managing that.
You, Val.
Fantastic job.
And good luck, selecting the winner.
Wow. So everybody, thanks so much again for listening. Incredible pitches, amazing projects, very developed. Some already have a revenue. We had amazing, questions from our panel. And now our panel has to do a bit more work, but they love that. This is their day-to-day. We're going to have our keynote speech from Danielle Liadi, who is from EAB. She's going to give us a speech around an innovator's guide to technology ecosystems. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of a few seconds to set that up. And in the time she's setting that up, our jurors will deliberate to know who the winners are. But let's give them all a round of applause. Yep, so fantastic work, okay? Now you're all winners. We have to choose a winner, which is very hard. I'm going to give the floor to Danielle from EAB, our main partner, who has an incredible keynote ready for us. And then our jurors will be deliberating. In around 20, 30 minutes, we will have the winner, and we'll have that exciting announcement to make. So Danielle, how are you doing? Are you good? Are you ready? The floor is yours. Please share your presentation if you have one, and then we can start, okay? So, perfect. It's coming up on the screen. We can see that. We're really looking forward to this. When that's ready, we can start. I think it's getting there. Almost there. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see. It's
yeah, no problem.
It should be on the right window, but we'll give it a moment.
Yeah, give it a moment. That's not a problem, okay? So again, our jurors, you've got a hard job right now. You've got to think about this. You haven't got a lot of time for it. It does mean a lot to all the startups about winning this. More support and the ecosystem. So it's a big one. But all of you are winners. You've had exposure. You're already doing good work. And remember, you're here. I've heard that we have nearly 200 people watching this online. So we've made a lot more new connections. And that's very, very important. And so I think Daniel's getting ready. Hopefully it's going to work. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
okay.
I can still see the multiple windows. I don't know if you guys can see the slides appropriately.
Yeah, maybe you need to minimize some of the windows, and then we could see it up. That's it.
Doesn't look like it.
Maybe you have to minimize because we have a lot of.
Can you see it now?
There. Now we're there. Perfect. Now, these are
Excellent.
the challenges, opportunity of tech. So again, jurors, good luck with that. It's not going to be easy. Thank you for our founders for your amazing work and presentation. Danielle, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So thank you folks for letting me listen in on those pitches. As Apurva mentioned earlier, I work with him at EAB. I'm a researcher there, and I focus on the higher education sort of set of systems in particular. But I thought I'd share with you today some of what we've learned about the general shape of digital transformation that's happening in higher education and in education more broadly, and then focus on a couple of takeaways that I have for you all in terms of thinking about pitching these products and thinking about how they might fit within a broader system of technology ecosystems in education. So I know that we're sort of running up on time here already, so we haven't got long, so let's go ahead and get started. So the primary focus of my research at EAB is educational institutions and how they're thinking about their organizational models and the services that they offer in the broader context of digital change, which some of you all have been talking about. So for most educational institutions, many of which have been around for an awful long time, so here in the US, but certainly across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, right, we're talking about institutions that have been around for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years at this point. And so we're talking for them about a process of digital evolution rather than necessarily transformation. Because even as we've seen these digital tools create waves in the economy and the way that we interact with the world and the people around us as individuals, incumbent or existing education institutions have seemed for the longest time to be quite resistant to change. But with COVID and the pandemic, we've seen an acceleration in the willingness of these organizations to do more with technology. And that's hopefully ushered in, hopefully for you all, I would imagine, a new wave of receptiveness to the innovations of EdTech. And the reason that I say, you know, what I'm saying here is that we're hearing a lot of institutional leaders, so the folks that we talk to on a daily basis, urging for a continuation of the innovation and focus that we've seen in the last 12 months. And it's not really just innovation at any costs, right? Specifically, they're looking for innovation that serves to align their institution more neatly with the needs of their students. And that starts to sound an awful lot like the relentless customer centricity that we hear touted as disrupting industries in the private sector. We heard earlier a little bit about disruption. So for example, you can see up here on my slide, Gregory Crawford, who is the president at Miami University. He's betting right now on a new set of processes and planning efforts that focus on continuous planning, continuous change, leading to new structures that are going to help them address student needs and societal needs more immediately as they shift with, as Apurva mentioned earlier, changing demographics and changing expectations. Now, from the broader literature and research on the customer-centric mandate, the reasons for setting up your business in that way are very, very clear. Right? Although the profit-centric motive doesn't quite align with what educational institutions consider to be their mission, the reality is that customer centricity, as it manifests in those businesses that are using it to drive their transformation, is actually not only increasing profits and revenue, it's actually a factor in loyalty and retention. And in fact, that's how it actually drives profits and revenue. So it's no surprise then that EAB's polling, so we talked to a lot of leaders, as I said, we found that most of those leaders are today thinking in the same direction as President Crawford in Miami. 83% of presidents and 80% of chiefs of staff, mostly located here in the North American region, indicated that the total student experience or the holistic student experience was going to be their #1 priority for 2021. And that resoundingly beat out other pandemic-induced hot topics, things like remote work, campus space redesign, and mental health. So the sort of the experience of students is front and center for a lot of leaders in the education space right now. And this is really quite a shift for education, and especially higher education, where I spend most of my time, where we actually haven't yet seen the broad-reaching disruption that we've seen in things like the hotel and the taxi industries, you know, with Airbnb and Uber and the like. In higher education, we've actually seen a number of potential disruptors come along over the years and ultimately yield very minimal changes. So if you think back to the beginning of 2012 and the craze for MOOCs, right, online courses, massively online open courses, they were heralded back then as the end of education as we know it, but they've since kind of petered out to the fringes of what we do. Yes, there are sort of institutions that embrace those, that use those. There are some organizations, obviously Coursera is a big one, but they partner with institutions. They've been folded into the broader way that we think about higher education. Hasn't really fundamentally shifted the industry as a whole. And so I think as you look to innovate in this space, it's important to recognize why education has been particularly resilient to digital change. Foremost is the analog nature of the product. Institutions educate people, and education is fundamentally a personal experience. Or as we heard earlier from Tayo, it's psychosocial. But in addition to that, we have significant protections actually against new providers by way of the accreditation process that governs who is and is not able to confer degrees to students. That's something that exists obviously here in the US, in Canada, in the UK, and in most of the economies that we see. So in the past, that accreditation has allowed higher education an advantage over any non-traditional competitors. And with those kinds of protections, traditional institutions have seen their mandates expand, and with those mandates have come higher fees and more complex organizations. But to differentiate from those monolithic institutions, there are all of these kind of disruptive upstarts that are coming seeking accreditation as well, while offering a cheaper or a quicker or a more personal alternative to some of the sort of monolithic options offered by traditional colleges and universities or other educational institutions. So as a bit of an example here, I just wanted to look at two offerings from the past sort of half decade in specifically the degree offering space, both of which are leveraging new technologies to try and build a product that appeals specifically to a particular segment of the higher education market. Now, I'm not saying that either of these are particularly great innovations or that they are going to change the world of education as we know it. I just want to use these examples to illustrate what it might look like to shave off a part of what an institution is doing and do it more effectively. So Teacher.co is a startup out in Utah in the US, and they are offering a $1,000 philosophy bachelor's. So they're also they're sort of currently on the path to accreditation in Utah. It's an online-only school, and they're offering access to stripped-down degrees, essentially. So they provide curated content that's modeled on the philosophy programs at well-known state flagships here in the US. They offer some teaching assistance as needed along the way, and then they examine students through competency-based models. So they're clearly looking to bring in a market of students who need a bachelor's to progress in their careers, but don't necessarily care what degree or where it comes from. So when compared to the sticker price of most degree programs, you're looking at a significant difference for the student that is most focused on cost and flexibility with something like that. Now, they came forward a couple of years ago, but at this point, we're actually seeing Southern Utah University is actually bringing a similar offering to the table as well. They're doing a general studies BA. It's not quite $1,000. I think it's $9,000 for the full bachelor's, but you're seeing universities shifting their posturing in response to things like this. Secondarily, Wolf University, that's something that's come out of Oxford University. A set of academics there are starting to offer one-on-one tutorial-style education directly from qualified individuals to students all around the world. So what that looks like is they take folks with a PhD, folks who aren't necessarily being able to find a tenure track or a full-time position within an institution, allowing them to curate courses for themselves and reach out directly to students. So in various ways, they've pitched what they're doing as the Uber for education. You've got an oversupply of qualified individuals who want to work, and you have students who are seeking a more one-on-one experience. And so they are using technology to match those individuals and allow people to craft their own degree programs through what is a more personalized education. Now, their accreditation journey is underway in the UK and in Malta and in Spain, which they are hoping is going to give them access to all of the Spanish-speaking markets worldwide. So really a global effort that's undergoing there at Wolf. Now, as I always say when I'm using these kinds of examples, what these cases should tell us at this point is not that these new offerings are going to displace existing institutions and radically transform higher education or education on their own. There's no way to tell really whether or not they will be successful in what they're trying to do. But what we should take away from this is the realization that by thinking about the things that really matter to the people that we serve, it's possible to embrace technology and then align it to doing things in a more innovative way and to ruthlessly sort of bring those offerings to bear against the problems that we're trying to solve. So with that, we land on this concept of digital transformation, or rather our concept of it here at EAB. Now, there's no denying that digital transformation is a buzzword on almost everybody's lips. And as I said, in response to consumer and environmental pressures that are amplified by the pandemic, the education sector is embracing digital change like never before. But like many buzzwords, the term is only useful in the context of any kind of shared definition. So up on the slide, you just see how we here at EAB explain it. It's about using digital tools, specifically data and technology, to deliver value and drive change. So the emphasis, as has been shared, I think, by a couple of folks as we've been talking today, it's not on technology for the sake of technology, but on the application of technology to address strategic goals and operational challenges. Then the rapid scaling and widespread adoption of a solution in turn creates a culture of continuous improvement and sets the stage for further transformation. So digital transformation then a kind of a catch-all term for ongoing innovation and technology-driven change, with a particular emphasis on that which disrupts or changes the status quo. So anything from service innovations and workflow efficiency initiatives to completely new program modalities or radically reimagined business models. Then just to pull that apart a little bit, I do just want to visualize that process really quickly with a clear emphasis on the idea that we're talking here about a verb, right? Digital transformation for institutions that exist. It's something that's done actively and reactively to address problems that exist in the real world. So problems are at the center here of the process. And then we think about applying the different tools that we have, the different technologies that are available to try and solve a problem in a new way. Now, whatever ideas and solutions are then conceived, those are then either transformational or not based on their adoption. And that's the stage that many of you are at today, is thinking about how do you drive adoption through some of these technologies to make sure that they actually drive the change, the transformation that you are looking to bring into the education space. Because you can invent the best solution in the world, but if nobody uses it, then the impact is going to be minimal. Now, when those new solutions are successful, what that typically does is create new data, new information, or even completely new technologies that then feed back into the front end of this process. So we get more data, we get more tools, and most importantly, we get more options to provide context and possible solutions for the next problem that arises. So just to round us out here, just on this sort of first section, I want to land quickly on how fast and how exponentially that potential for change and innovation really is growing. So it's quite undeniable, right? The world around us is changing, and it's actually changing faster and faster. And in part, that's because the technology and the information available to us is expanding at an accelerating rate. As you can see here, since the introduction of personal computers in the middle of the 20th century, we've seen both the rapid democratization of personal computers, right, devices, and more recently, a swift proliferation as well in the number and variety of information technologies that are available to regular people. Now, there are obviously some areas where a lot of this technology doesn't reach, right? And that was one of the things that we saw in one of our pitches today. Even things like devices and internet accessibility are not broadly available. But it's an ongoing pattern that new technologies get built atop existing components to provide a wealth of opportunity for innovation. And from those technologies, we've seen a deluge of data, which is then used to feed right back into that innovation process. So as we all move forward, then the pace of this relentless innovation will only accelerate. And this mountain that you can see, this digital change, will only get taller. And that has profound implications for the people and organizations that are around today as they try and adapt to those changes, which is actually what I want to turn to next with the last couple of slides as the second piece of framing for all of you innovators, as you try and think about the different ways that you want to leverage this opportunity to change the landscape of education. And that's just by closing us out by providing a framework for you all to think about how the work that you do supports existing organizations and entities that are attempting to adapt within this dizzying spiral of change and innovation. So for most solutions, it's going to be crucial for you to think about how each tool, which relentlessly and ruthlessly optimizes to solve one specific problem, is going to fit into a broader ecosystem of solutions that are chipping away at other problems that exist within the domain that you are tackling. Now, as I've alluded to throughout, there's been a greater appetite for innovation in education technology since the pandemic. And the spotlight is shone on a need for more robust investment in digital infrastructure to support teaching and learning, as well as operations in education. But that appetite is also coming from investors too. So there are already some 300 plus vendors across 40 market segments in higher education alone. Now, within that group and beyond to the incubators, over $2 billion in venture funding was raised in the US in 2020 across 130 separate deals. And that represented a 30% increase in capital investments in the sector. Now, that's huge. So not only is there this appetite from incumbent providers and the students that they serve for new ways of doing things, but there's also a willing body of investors that are pumping money into this space. Now, while there are some disruptive innovations out there that are aiming to challenge the status quo of credentialed education and provide entirely new pathways to learning, the truth, as I've kind of hinted at so far, tends to have been that in the past, most innovations get swallowed up by or purchased to operate within incumbents. So you see, tools like I've got up here, Coursera, Guild, Handshake is a career services tool. You see that little red icon. Any sort of VR innovations that we're seeing, there are financing innovations that are coming into the education space as well. Those are partnering with existing institutions and helping them evolve. They're not necessarily massively disrupting the space as we know it. And the truth is that with all of this sort of ongoing innovation that we have at the fringes of higher education, challenging the things that we do, what we're finding is that higher education has been remarkably resilient. Or you can see at the bottom of the slide here is what a colleague of Purva Minds has it, they are anti-fragile. Now, anti-fragile or anti-fragility is a term coined by Nassim Taleb, and it's a descriptor of an organization that becomes more resilient and stronger through adversity. So while we've lost a couple of institutions, existing institutions, through the pandemic, mostly to things like financial hardship, what we've actually seen from those that have continued to serve students has been quite remarkable, right? Ed, who works on the student success side of our business, is adamant that institutions will retain that appetite for thriving. They will retain an appetite for partnerships, which will mean more and more of this cycle of technology adoption and partnership to drive innovation moving forward. And we already see that happening across the student life cycle, generally speaking. So again, thinking about higher education, you have a cradle to career learner life cycle where you have piecemeal innovation that's focused on those specific pain points and processes and opportunities, which when you think about it all together actually becomes very complicated across the whole life cycle. So if you think about enrolling in an institution, you're seeing things like widespread CRM adoption and virtual campus visits and financial aid optimization and analytics that are transforming the way that institutions identify and recruit and enroll their student bodies. So it's driving a sort of personalization of outreach and highly differentiated pipelines depending on the type of students that an institution is working with. So it's more like sort of marketing that you would find in the for-profit sector. So things like adult learner recruitment as well, that's looking a lot more differentiated from the traditional enrollment that we would see as they start shifting to new demographics. Then on the tail end, so on the advancement or fundraising end of the learner life cycle, you're seeing something quite similar, right? Kind of like enrollment where there's sort of a neater alignment with the broader industry sentiment around optimizing for dollars. You get a similar infrastructure to support personalization. So again, it's CRMs, it's thinking about new data and events and ticketing systems and all kinds of innovations to make sure that you have a really rich experience with the folks you are building relationships with. And then finally, in that middle section, right, which is probably the one that most of us think of as more traditionally tied to education, in the sort of learning space as well, we're also seeing widespread adoption of different technologies, including new virtual and augmented reality tools to support very different types of pedagogy. We're seeing efforts to support retention through more strategic advising, and even things like career exploration and internships as well, finding their way into how we think about creating a great learner experience. Now, if you think about that timeline and you think about all of the different technology that supports that, what I want to show you now is the ecosystem of that and how that looks when you try and do anything that thinks about an individual learner that operates in a technology ecosystem that looks like that. So if you think, for example, about an administrator at an educational institution, you have this digital sprawl, essentially, of technologies which spread important data across multiple systems and solutions. So for example, student data might exist across multiple systems and solutions. And the same again for academic achievement, right, and course data, the things that folks are engaging with their learning. Then something like finance and operational data is similarly scattered across systems as well. So when you're dealing with this kind of landscape, it's actually really difficult to say, I don't know, think about how to serve a student across their full learner life cycle, right? You need to connect multiple systems to try and look across the dots and understand what's happened to a specific individual as they find their way through their learning journey. Or let's say you're actually a student and you're trying to figure out something like paying your library fines to try and lift a hold on your registration. You might have to deal with multiple units on your campus who are all dealing with different technologies to try and get an issue resolved. And so that actually leads to widespread frustration. And beneath the surface of all of this innovation that we have going on, you actually end up with this really, really frustrating web of integration of data movement across different technologies. And so what that looks like for organizations, as I mentioned, is one big headache, which is what I'm asking you all to consider as you think about the final phase of solutioning, which is ensuring adoption and utilization of your solutions. So in a survey of US and UK organizations, not specifically in education, but my own interviews suggest that this is representative, if not a low number actually, 76% of organizations said they had data trapped in legacy systems, which was preventing them from making the most appropriate strategic decisions. So my challenge to you all is to consider how should new solutions integrate with aging or existing infrastructure and systems on campus? If you must be part of an ecosystem, how will the data generated by your solution become a functioning part of that whole? And then the other thing that the spiderweb does is it actually absorbs an enormous amount of staff and institutional resources to maintain. So much so that, again, in higher education, but K-12 is actually more restrained here, just 5% of an in-house IT organization's time and resources are available for new projects. So for you all, I would argue that it's a caution for you to consider how your solution will help ease that burden and how you're going to partner with resource-constrained organizations to ensure that they see the type of change that you can deliver and that you're helping them put their people time into the thing that really matters, which is the education of the students that they work with. And so at the end of the day, I'm asking you to consider not just what your unique innovation and solutions can achieve, but how they fit within a broader network of solutions that can create a true platform for innovation in education, which will, by its nature, be a patchwork of solutions working to complement one another. So with that, I think I've reached the end of my time here. And so I'll leave you with just these two key questions that I think every innovator should be asking in the EdTech space. Number one, who is your customer and how does your solution provide new types of value to them more seamlessly than they might have accessed that before? And then secondarily, how is your solution going to work within that expanding digital ecosystem to ensure that the educational community can get the most out of the change that it offers? And if you'd like to read more, you can do so over at eab.com, where you'll find a longer white paper from me about sustaining student-centric innovation, as well as a wealth of other resources and information about the digital transformation of education. Also for me personally, if you'd like to get in touch, I've included some options for you up here on the slide. But thank you again for your time and attention and for the pitches that you've given today. They have been fascinating. And with that, I think I'm going to pass you all back to your hosts here at IE.
Thank you, Danielle. Wonderful, really insightful. It can help us to learn, and that is our business, and help the future learners and the founders. Now, you know, the jurors have done their hard work. It's been very difficult. I mean, Oriana, who would you choose? Do you even know?
I don't know. I'm going to leave that to the jury, but for sure, I want to congratulate all the participants because all of your ideas are wonderful. And as you mentioned before, Val, you are all winners. Keep on, working on your idea. Keep on, involving yourselves in this type of initiatives. Because at the end, this may sound cliche, but the key to success is to be perseverant and to keep on and keep going.
Perfect. The passion, the hard work, it gets great results. And there are many people here listening. And I'm sure that real connections will be made and real investments will be made so that you can create value with your values. So now we can have that virtual drum roll. And I'm going to I'd like Oriana to say the winner. I've got it here on my phone.
Let's see.
So please, this is an exciting moment.
So
wow.
Okay, so the winner is Next Knowledge from Steven Stryker. Congratulations.
Wow, congratulations. Round of applause.
A round of applause.
So, Steven, if you can, we'd love a first reaction from you. Big congratulations to everybody. Big congratulations to you and your team. Could you share some words about how you're feeling right now?
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Great. I'm trying not to jump around my office and do a little happy dance. That's amazing. Thank you so much. The opportunity to participate in this kind of came at us kind of fast and furious, and we thought, well, all exposure is good exposure, and this is great practice. But I'm regardless of what happened, I was happy to just be here, share a little bit of the tale of what we do, and I'm happy that it landed well. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you. Thanks, Stephen. Great job. And congratulations, Next Knowledge, Stephen, and all our teams. Thanks to everybody who was involved. Thanks to our jurors. Thanks to our partners who've been there to support us. This is an amazing event. It's a lot of visibility. We also have a note, please look out for our other events coming along. We have our Tourism Venture Day, our Legal Tech Venture Day. So it's exciting stuff. We're going to be tracking all of the startups and seeing what happens. I'm sure they're going to have a very successful future. And from us, and thank you, Oriana, for your great support.
And thanks
all the
everybody
best.
for connecting to this session.
And stay safe.
Stay safe.